Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Navid Akhtar. I'm a television producer. I've worked at the BBC as well as independently around my own company, and recently I've been heavily involved with the Channel 4 Ramadan season. I produce parts of the season as well as being the season's consultant. Basically, we've now reached a point where the Muslim community in the UK make up 5%, and Ramadan itself is now the third largest event, religious event, after both Christmas and Easter. And so really, in order to reflect that, I think Channel 4 felt that something should be done, and that there was a large number of people who would want to be interested and would watch this. And so that really was the starting point. And the idea was to really sort of give people an insight into the lives of ordinary Muslims when they're fasting, what's going on, because a lot of people are aware that colleagues are fasting or people they know are fasting, but it's sort of done very secretly. People tend not to try and sort of talk too much about it, make a big fuss about it. But this year, with it being 19 hours long British summertime, there was a kind of a feeling that people needed to really sort of understand what had been going on, as well as obviously there's been a lot of discussions around what happens now to the Muslim community in the UK post a lot of the terror, the bombs, etc., and the growing the rise of the EDL is also a huge problem. So given all of these factors, Channel 4 wanted to explore these issues, and what was considered radical really was, and Channel 4 are very much into doing things which shock and sort of surprise people, and the surprising thing was that here was a series of programs about Muslims that actually didn't talk about anything other than what they wanted to talk about and what they were going through, and didn't contextualize it with terror or Woolwich or anything like that. So it was simply about the process of Ramadan and how people were going through that. And the idea was to get a real cross section of the community from Scotland right down to the south coast and to different ages, etc., and let people kind of put it into their own words. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that while it is a major religious event for Muslims, we didn't actually rely that much on scholars or imams. We allowed ordinary people to actually explain for themselves why they were doing it, and that worked quite successfully. I think there were numerous motivations. I think from Channel 4 is a broadcaster at the end of the day, so it's trying to hit the largest possible audience, but at the same time it recognises there's a minority audience that are also watching. So there was a balance between trying to make programs reflect the Muslim community in a way that they're happy with, as well as obviously sort of make sure that they make sense to non-Muslims who happen to watch. So it was really looking for the balance of the two there, and the motivation really was to just enlighten people more than anything, so that people get a sense of what's been going on, why are people doing this, why they're not eating or drinking for 19 hours. And there is still an incredible amount of ignorance, despite what we think we're doing enormous work within the Muslim community. There's still a lot of people out there who don't understand it, and so it was trying to aim for those people. The response has been quite interesting. It's been a mixed response. Obviously there was a lot of fuss around what was initially one very small part of the season, which was the call to prayer, and that's never been done before on British television, and it was on the front page of the Sun, Ramadan ding dong, and so that did cause a lot of a sense of this is not a secular country. What is Channel 4 doing? So there was always some nervousness around that, and at the same time, given this idea about creeping Sharia, etc., there were the obvious voices who found this offensive and didn't like the idea of it. But at the same time, within the community, the response has been amazing, because I think it's been, for me as a person who's a program maker and a member of the community, what has been important is to reclaim space. We've got to reclaim space that we've lost over 10 years to the voice of the nutcases, the crazies, all the people that we know who have given really a distorted image of what our community is about. And so for me, it was very important to find a new narrative and a new set of voices, a new set of faces, a new set of people talking about very ordinary things and a whole range of experiences that they go through during Ramadan. I've now been almost 20 years in mainstream television, so I think we're at a real place of both divergence, convergence, and at the same time disruption. Disruption really is the big key here. The very idea of mainstream channels is eroding. The idea of how people consume, when they consume, is completely changing. And I think within that we're now offered opportunities. It means that a lot of the established organisations are facing difficulties in terms of who they chase as audiences, what their business models are, and I think that's where we can step in. I mean, clearly what I've tried to do in the work that I've done there, and there's something close to 70 odd pieces that the season produced, and I mean, it's not solely my work, but the idea is that you can get a snapshot of, if we were to have a Muslim channel perhaps that reflected our views, how would it work? It would clearly work in a way that a non-Muslim watching would still find value in it. it would clearly work in a way that it wouldn't be wall-to-wall theological television. It has to have that initial element of entertainment there. So when you watch, you really do feel like you're oh my God, this is enjoyable, which is the process of television should be. Whereas the educational element, or the sense of actually learning, comes somewhere hidden in there, and there's a kind of a magic formula that we are very good at television in understanding how to put those messages into people using the content. So I think that's really where I myself want to see things go. I've been working now for almost 2 years on a very big business project around that space and what can come from it. There's still a lot of enormous amounts of reservations and doubt because unfortunately up till now whatever we've seen as Muslim media really has been so inadequate and so badly done. So there's a huge amount of nervousness about is it going to work, and how do we do that? And I think for me the channel is actually an example of the common thing that I get is it was too short. Oh my God, I watched that and 3 minutes and it was like, what? I just thought that was give me 10 times that, 30 minutes a day, or give me more. And that's really where that's a great sort of reaction to have, because that people feel they could easily consume more. If we do a very snapshot analysis of actually what is available for us as Muslims, fundamentally you have to look at it as 3 separate types of genre which are out there. So the first of it really falls under the kind of thing of 24-hour news, and it's a very important aspect because the Muslim world is going through all sorts of issues and conflicts and challenges, and it's really important that we get that very accurately, that we understand what really is happening on the ground in Egypt, what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Tunisia, what's going on in Istanbul. And I think really that space now is very well occupied. So if you really are interested in finding out what you think the truth is from many perspectives, from the BBC right through to CNN, you can actually also now, you can tune into Russian television, you can tune into Chinese television, you can tune into Al Jazeera, and across the board there's been an enormous amount of work done. So that's one very solid genre. The traditional genre that exists really is called cultural television, which says I'm a Lebanese, I'm a Qatari, I'm a Pakistani, I'm a Bengali. It's language based. A lot of it is around soaps and dramas, etc. And a lot of it, the origins of it tend not to be here. It tends to be in the country that it's national television over there, and then it's brought out here. And then the third genre really is what you would call teledawa, theological television, and that whether you're sort of Ikhwani, whether you're Shia, whether you're Brelvi, there's hundreds and hundreds of theological channels which give you a very specific message according to where you feel you want to do. And a lot of that is all free. It's very low quality content because it's really just about trying to capture people watching it. A lot of it's charity based. So you've got those 3 things. Now really there is room for another genre which is being missed there, and that really the consumer for that isn't a mass consumer. It's in the Muslim community, but it's really the ABC ones of Islam. It's the ABC ones of that community. These are people who are very educated, who really move quite comfortably between East and West. They've got hyper diverse identity. They've got a global connected kind of network themselves, and they're used to the quality that you would see on the BBC, particularly in the realm of documentaries. They're used to the qualities that you see in National Geographic. They're used to the quality that you see on the Discovery Channel. This is television which really sort of focuses on the culture, the history, the traditions, all of those aspects of Islam, which we kind of really have seen very little. I mean, apart from the odd film about Muslim Spain appearing once in a while on BBC, there's an enormous amount of stuff that's missing. I mean, I've watched endless films on how the Empire State Building was built or the Hoover Dam, but as of yet, I've yet to see a film that accurately shows you how Taj Mahal was constructed. And so these are the kind of things which we're very interested in. Combined with that, there's a growing incentive for us to look at what we call, the halal industry as it crosses over into lifestyle issues now around travel, about where we travel, where we eat, what kind of clothes we wear, what kind of even financial products we consume. So there's a natural kind of a commercial alliance with that kind of content and that kind of industry. And so really, it's going to be a race now as to who can actually deliver the quality that's needed, because it's something that people will subscribe to and pay to watch, and have got a broader idea about it. It's not really Al Jazeera territory because it's it can't be an Arab project in the way that it can't be a Pakistani project, in the way that it can't be a Turkish project. It really is a kind of a diversified idea about what it means to be a Muslim globally. And what I term, and the classification that I've come up with is I call it global urban Muslim. And global urban Muslims really are residing in about sort of 15 cities across the world, and they are sharing a great amount of similarities, and it stretches really from Sydney right through to Jakarta, right down to California. So across that you've got about 15, 16 cities where people have really got this outlook and this identity, and it's not really been catered for at the moment.